Okay, let's go ahead and begin. Alright, so just a short section. We are being rewarded on this Monday with a short section of Chronicles, and I will try not to expound oh so much because we've read this before and we are familiar with the narration of events that take place here. But without further ado, let me go ahead and break into the quote. It says, "If you are at Rome, live in the Roman style. If you are elsewhere, live as they live elsewhere." And this is by Saint Ambrose, c. circa 339 to 397. Okay, so this is quite ancient. This is almost a play on, treat others how you would like to be treated. It's almost a play on the golden rule, except for it's saying behave in a way that others would expect you to behave. It's kind of like that, okay? Except with this quote, we're bringing in culture. We're bringing in really cultural differences and expounding on the differences even between your town and outside of your town, right? So this was later adopted to be the quote, "when in Rome," right? When in Rome, and people, of course, would say this when they're in Rome, posting it as their Instagram captions, what have you, but then later adopted just to say, oh, because I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and live how they would live, maybe a little bit more frivolous, or maybe a little bit more uptight and kept reserved, if that is the culture. Say when you go into a church, right, you're modest and quiet and observant rather than maybe your loud and boisterous self. Okay, so it's that type of energy going into this reading of First Chronicles. We are definitely going to be exploring some cultural differences, as well as the issue and the complication that arises when you do or don't behave as others expect you to behave. So let's go ahead and begin here, starting out with chapter 19. It says here, "In the course of time, Nahash, king of the Ammonites, died, and his son succeeded him as king. David thought, I will show kindness to Hanun, son of Nahash, because his father showed kindness to me. So David sent a delegation to express his sympathy to Hanun concerning his father." Okay, does this sound familiar? If it doesn't, it will, because there's some key points in here that are hard to forget. But with this, it does actually go quite well to the quote that we just read out of the Quran. David himself did not go to offer his condolences to Hanun and his family. More importantly, because he is a king, okay, it's almost not his position to go roam about unless it is in times of battle or in times of war. His duty is to his subjects, his people, and his duty is oftentimes to stay back into the palace. Although, when David was young, before he was elected king, as he was escaping Saul's wrath, he did in fact take refuge with Nahash, king of the Ammonites. If you remember that, he was fighting for them in many cases, leading parties and taking over small tribes, villages, that sort of thing for under Nahash, as he sought refuge with the Ammonites. It was only later that the Ammonites were battling Israel and Judea, and when they were going into that battle, David was actually ready to go ahead and fight his own people, siding with the Ammonites, being a part of the Ammonites. So he very much lived this quote, "If you are at Rome, live in the Roman style. If you are elsewhere, live as they live elsewhere." So he was fully committed to go into battle against Israel. He said, I will fight with you, no problem. How he might have felt on the inside is kind of up to God, right, to go ahead and determine. But we do also know that Nahash excused him from that battle, knowing that he might have the conflict of interest, and other advisors had also commented about the conflict of interest and how he might actually turn against the Ammonites at that time. So he was excused from that battle. So fast forward much later, right? David does want to express his sympathy. He does want to be kind. But thinking about the way that other cultures saw Israel and saw Judea at this time, they were very much a military giant. Okay, people were scared of Israel, and people were scared of David. So he sends this delegation, and the Ammonites, being prior enemies to Israel and Judea, kind of took it harshly. They did not take it well. They took it with offense, clearly, and they said, oh, this is just, he's either showing off, or he's just giving us a taste of, his wealth, his power, aka showing off. So they did not take it as tasteful, even though it was done in good intentions. They did not take it as tasteful. So what they had done was they seized the envoys that David sent, the individuals. He shaved their heads, and they cut off their garments at their buttocks. So he left their bare booties exposed, and he shaved their heads, okay, and sent them away. So David, when he got word of that, of course, the offense was even more massive on his part, right? Because that was not his intention to go ahead and receive that feedback. So David was upset, and when the Ammonites realized that they had become obnoxious to David, they hired 32,000 chariots and charioteers, as well as the king of Maakah with his troops, who came and camped near Medeba, while the Ammonites were mustered from their towns and moved out for battle. So something also, it says here, both in this and in 1 King or Samuel, wherever that we first read this, the Ammonites realized they had become obnoxious to David. So from their perspective, as much as that was rude and unwarranted, it was more so of kind of like a joke to them. They thought, oh, this is kind of funny, I wonder how he'll react. Of course, it was to piss David off, but it was more in an obnoxious. When we say the word obnoxious, we think of like somebody making a joke that's a little too crude, that type of thing. So that was kind of the energy coming from the Ammonites. They're a little bit more rough around the edges. They definitely have a different type of way of dealing with things, as we can see, okay? But yes, David, of course, was offended, and the Ammonites then became worried that, they will be no more after David's reaction was felt. So they mustered up everybody for battle. They were ready to, take on Israel if need be. But really, they led the way. I mean, they had the troops and everything already set to go, while David might or might not have done anything. But when David heard of the troops, he gathered all of Israel and crossed the Jordan. He advanced against them and formed his battle lines opposite them. David formed his lines to meet the Arameans in battle, and they fought against him. All right, and can we guess who won this battle, if we do not remember? Yes, Israel won the battle. David won the battle. Okay, I did not put that in there, but it is there. And it says here, in still another battle which took place at Gath, there was a huge man with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all. He also was descended from Rapha, which I guess was another giant man. When he taunted Israel, Jonathan, son of Shemaiah, David's brother, killed him. Okay? Simple as that. So the Arameans, okay, expect David to be this military giant, which he is. And those who don't expect David to be this military giant. He really does spend a lot of time proving the other side wrong, in battle specifically, okay? So, if you are in Rome, live in the Roman style. If you are elsewhere, live as elsewhere, right? Keep your expectations where they should be, okay? Unless you are standing in the shoes of another person. You can understand, okay? So, again, geographical differences, cultural differences can cause conflict. They can cause confusion, misconception, that type of thing. So, takes place here pretty clearly. And of course, what we just read about ties into this first part in regards to Nahash's death. And, knowing what David knows of the Ammonites, they probably were not devout believers at all in the Lord. I'm pretty sure they were not. So, knowing what he knows, it wasn't in his place to go ahead and offer his condolences and such. But yes, I digress, because all this talk is making me ready to start this Monday, let's put it that way. I appreciate you guys listening. I do have to get going. I'll talk to you again very soon. Get some more work done. Bye guys, thanks for listening. Goodbye.